Hello and welcome to Tech for Non-Techies, the only podcast that demystifies the fast-growing technology sector. I'm your host, Sophia Matveeva, Chicago-based MBA and tech entrepreneur. My aim here is to give you the skills, knowledge and confidence to find opportunities in the tech sector, whether that's through founding a company, getting a dream job, or bringing a fresh perspective to your work. Hello, smart people. How are you today? Today is the last day of March 2021. Spring is here and the weather where I am is glorious. I'm still living in the south of France where everything is already flowering and the sun is shining, and I've already even seen some people swimming in the sea. I'm not ready to do that yet, but I think the sea will be warm enough for me in a couple of weeks. For April, I'm doing something special, and you can be involved in it. The energy is just changing and it just feels like the world is opening up again. And this is why I'm offering something to just 4 people. I'll be working with just 4 people individually, not in a group program, individually, on the April sprint to go from idea to live product. We will have one-on-one sessions, and you will also get homework to go from idea to a live thing that people can actually use. And we will be using no-code tools to create something that you can get into users' hands, validate your assumptions, and then take the next steps. If this is what you want to do, the link is in the show notes if you're listening on Apple, and also on the Tech for Non-Techies social media, so that's on Instagram and on Facebook. Today, in this episode, I want to teach you about what no-code tools are. There's even a thing called the no-code movement. I know that not all of you will be able to get a space on the April sprint. So if you listen to this episode or if you're listening to this way later, this is going to be some good info to get you started. This is also a very important episode for investors, because I want you to know that you want to invest after some of the assumptions have already been validated with no-code tools, not before. We've actually covered aspects of the no-code movement already, so if this sounds like a totally wild new concept to you, you will see that actually it isn't. So often, the tech world comes up with a term that sounds totally new, but when you dig a bit deeper into it, it's a concept or a practice that has been around for ages. And I think the no-code movement has a bit of that. We've actually covered examples of the no-code movement on this podcast, and I'll tell you which episodes you can go back to that are especially relevant. To begin with, what is the no-code movement? Basically, it is the idea that you can build a digital product using existing tools, which you assemble together without writing any of your own code. It includes everything from website and app builders to tools that automate e-commerce processes. So, for example, you can use a product called Bubble to build a simple app using visual builders. That's basically drag and drop, kind of like the way you would make a beautiful presentation on Canva. So, of course, there is actually coding involved, but it just means that you don't have to hire people to write code and pay them. In the Bubble example, the Bubble team wrote the code and they designed options for you to drag and to drop. You simply pay Bubble to access their code and designs. You can actually begin using Bubble and using a lot of the no-code tools on a free tier. No-code tools allow you to create an interface without hiring developers or your own designers. So this means that you can build a simple product using existing tools, which I think is a very good thing. I mean, this is called Tech for Non-Techies, so obviously I think it's a brilliant thing. So here are some more examples of tools that you could use. You could use MailChimp to collect emails on a homepage and then use it for your email marketing. You could use Zapier to automate processes between one tech tool and another. You could use Typeform, or you could use Airtable to collect customer data and organize it. These tools are perfect to build your first basic product and test some assumptions. But at this point, I want to go back to what a product is in the first place, because I know many of you take notes when you listen and you might be writing down furiously all of these tools. And we don't want to just get stuck in tools. Why are we doing all of this? What is a product? If you haven't listened to the What is a Product episode, then go back to that episode after this one. It is one of the most foundational concepts in business and technology that you will ever learn. In summary, a product is a solution to a problem that someone is experiencing. So, when I'm thirsty, I want to have a drink of water. Using a glass helps me solve that problem. I don't sit there thinking, I really want to use a glass. It's the same thing with apps and with sites and with algorithms. Nobody sits there thinking, I really want to use an app today. I know what I want to do. I want to use an app. No, you are using an app to get something that you want. Maybe you want a date, so you go on a dating app. Maybe you want entertainment, so you open up Netflix. Maybe you want to catch up on the news. So, for me, I open the Financial Times app. The app is just the vessel to bring you the solution to your problem. Just like a glass is the vessel to bring water to my mouth. So, if you can solve the problem your user is experiencing without writing code, then do it. Go for it. There is literally no moral victory to having your own code. You will not get a special place in heaven. And as I say this, I can hear some of you screaming, but what about IP? What about intellectual property, you monster? Yes, that is relevant, but it is only worth something if there is a business case behind the IP. For example, I could make a dating app for goats. That could have its own proprietary intellectual property. But what is the business case? Would goats pay to use a dating app? No, they would not. So there is no business case. Nobody's going to want my goat love finding IP. This is why it makes sense to test your idea and make a very simple product using what is already out there. Then, once you find the business case, then you can worry about IP and all of that. But don't worry about IP before you've actually proven any assumptions. Stitch together something using MailChimp, Zapier, Bubble, or whatever other tools are relevant to your solutions. Yes, there will be a learning curve. I don't want you to think that you can just get on there and just figure it out immediately. I remember when I was using Zapier, it took me a while, it took me a few tutorials. I got there, but it was something that I had to learn. But while you do have to invest some of your time and some of your energy into this, it is going to be way cheaper than hiring an entire product team. Building a simple solution using tools that are already out there means that you can get it into users' hands and see if it works. You can see what people are willing to pay for, and then you can get a business case. You can also do this with algorithms, so it's not just about apps and sites, and I'll tell you about that a little bit later. I know that there are a few investors listening to this podcast, and to the investor community, I say, if you are investing in seed stage companies, always ask to see what the founding team has done with existing solutions. Have they tested any of their assumptions with what's out there already? In most cases, there will be something they can do with existing solutions before writing a line of code. At this point, I do want to emphasize that this is not going to solve all of your problems forever. No-code solutions will only get you to a certain point. So I do think that it's a brilliant way to validate your assumptions, get some willingness to pay, understand who your users are, and literally be in a great place to start pitching for investors or looking for partnerships, or literally just scaling your no-code solution to a certain point. But I said a certain point, not forever. The functionality that no-code solutions give you is by definition limited because they're off-the-shelf solutions, so the functionality they give you is limited, the data they collect and analyze is general, and it is not specific to your needs. This is fine at the start when you are testing your assumptions and when you don't want to invest a huge amount of money to test your assumptions. Because remember, we want to test in the cheapest way possible, and hiring a product team is a pretty expensive way to do that. But if your tests show that there is a market need for your tech-enabled solution and people are willing to pay for it, and you have an idea of who those people are, then oh my God, you have a business case. You can do all sorts of things with a business case. You can either decide to invest your own time and money, you can have a really useful, interesting business plan, you can then start pitching to investors and to accelerators. And when you have a business case for your product, you can then decide to develop your own technology. This is why I think doing this work up front with no-code tools is going to put you in a really good place to then hire a product team. There are two awesome benefits to using no-code tools at the start. First, you will be able to keep using some of those tools as you grow. So, for example, lots of big companies that have their own tech teams still use MailChimp. Second, by the time you decide to invest in a product team, you will know that there is a market appetite and there is a willingness to pay. This takes out a huge amount of risk, which is why I do want investors and founders to know about these options. Because, as I always say, we're all investors. So, yes, when we think about investors in the classical sense, it's people who invest money. But if you're giving your time and your energy into something, that means you're not giving your time and your energy to something else. There is an opportunity cost to your time and your energy, as well as to your money. So whatever you're giving your time and your energy to, you are an investor in that thing. Now I want to show you how the successful non-technical founders that have been on this podcast have used no-code tools to bring their ideas to life. If you go back to episode 25 called Founder Stories, How I Built Homemade with Asaf Navot, you will see that he did just that. Homemade is a home lettings business, but the difference about them is that they use technology for processes that other home lettings businesses do manually. So their costs are about 80 to 90% lower according to Asaf, and the homes on their platform get rented more quickly. And that helps to explain their high reviews on Trustpilot. Asaf has raised around $5 million in funding and is now expanding his business across the UK. Today, Asaf has a tech team and Homemade has built its own proprietary technology. So for all of the people who are worrying about IP, Asaf did that. But he started using a bunch of tools already available to create the first minimum viable product. And he talks about that in the episode. That allowed him to see if anybody wanted to use it and whether there was willingness to pay. Once he proved that that was there, he saw that it made sense to build a business, raise money, and invest in technology. Another person who did that successfully is J.S. Kung, who runs a fintech AI business called iZen, and they've raised $28 million today. Not bad. You can listen to his story on episode 33, and it's called How I Built a Fintech AI Business as a Non-Technical Founder. JS created his first ever algorithm using a spreadsheet. Remember, an algorithm is just a set of rules and does not have to be super complicated and will not be super complicated at the start. Episode 7 of this podcast, called Intro to Algorithms and Big Data, tells you what algorithms are. So go back and listen to that episode if you haven't already. Although GS's business is very different from Asaf's, so one is fintech AI and the other one is property lettings, the principles that they used are the same. Stitch together existing tools to prove a concept. Once that works, raise money and hire a product team to build your proprietary technology. And by the way, raising money does not have to be your aim. So for example, I've had requests to invest in tech for non-techies, and so far I have turned them all down. But as I said, we're all investors. So if we're giving our time, our energy, and our money to something, we are investing in it. This is why I want you to validate your ideas with whatever is out there already. This is why testing our ideas with a bunch of no-code tools is the best way to validate your assumptions and be a smart investor yourself. If you want help with this, as I said, I will be taking 4 people through an April sprint to go from idea to live product, which I think is super exciting. We will work one-on-one across 2 live sessions, and I will give you homework to do. So there will be a lot of work and a lot of growth for you, but I think it's going to be really exciting. By the end of the sprint, you will have an MVP, that's a minimum viable product, that you have tested with your target users, and you'll have a pragmatic plan for what to do next, whether that's growing the product as a no-code solution or finding partners or investors to hire a product team, because you have already validated your assumptions and found a business case. And that's brilliant. I mean, that's good. If you do this in April, you will be in a really good place in May. Because this is not a group program. This is literally one-on-one with me. There are literally only 4 spaces available to do this. So if you want to make April the month you really go for it, then sign up soon. And I love people who take action. So I'm going to encourage people who take action. So the first 2 people who sign up will get the sprint at 50% off. 50% off. The April sprint costs $780. But the first 2 people who sign up will get it for only $380. The last time I made a special offer, it sold out within 48 hours. So, if this is what you want to do, then I wouldn't dilly-dally. You can see the link to the offer on the show notes if you're listening on Apple, or just go to the Tech for Non-Techies Instagram or Facebook page and you'll see the link there. If this episode floats your boat and you want more, then come join us as a member at Tech for Non-Techies. Our membership is your best friend in tech. Every week we have live sessions and masterclasses, and you'll also get monthly member meetups, Q&A with me, and learning notes on key aspects of technology like AI, product management, and the app economy. So literally, what is not to like? So that's it for now, my dear smart people. Have a fabulous day, and I'll speak to you next week. Ciao.